All right. All right. Welcome back to another episode. And my guest joining me today, if you don't recognize him, you may recognize his voice because he voiced Duncan in Total Drama Island, and he's done numerous other great acting gigs throughout his career as well. Mr. Drew Nelson, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, not bad. I'm glad to finally meet you. Obviously, we spoke off camera. We were talking about Total Drama Island. Can you believe that it's 15 years this month since it first premiered?
No, it blows my mind. I mean, the success of the show has just totally surpassed any of our expectations whatsoever. And the fact that it's hit a global audience is just like mind blowing. It's very flattering, man.
Was it a Canada show at first and then they pivoted it to show in the US, or was it
Yeah.
just, oh wow.
Yeah, the creators are Canadian, from Toronto, I believe, and the animation studio is a Canadian-based studio, and it aired in Canada on Teletoon, and then in the States on Cartoon Network.
Was there a spikeage and maybe that's why they started airing it in the US? Like, was it hitting at first in the Canada?
I can't quite remember if it was like hitting really hard in Canada, but I do just sense that the American audience and global audience just picked up on it way quicker than we ever expected. And it just ran from there.
Yeah, we spoke about how they kind of took like a genre that was already established with Survivor, and it was almost in a sense like a spoof of that, right? Like they mixed their own unique elements with. I know the season one they had the characters they were staying at like a campsite, so there
Yeah.
was a little bit of a play on that, but it was essentially like a Survivor type show that they
Yeah.
took and ran with it. That was the formula.
Yeah, Tom and Jen, they're geniuses. I mean, like they capitalized on a hot show that was happening on live action, and they came up with this brilliant animation idea, and it's just been they just haven't looked back.
Yeah, we'll work our way up to that, but I want to kind of ask you how 2022 has been for you thus far. Have you been doing any upcoming projects? What have you kind of been up to?
Yeah, it's been good. COVID. I mean, I don't even want to bring it up, but I've been very lucky with work over COVID, which has been great, keeping me afloat in that sense. I worked on a couple cool things. I worked on Guillermo del Toro's latest feature that came out last Christmas, Nightmare Alley, and I have a show on Apple that's coming out in August actually called 5 Days of Memorial, which is should be really gripping television. It's basically the recounting of Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
Yeah, really proud. The trailer just dropped, I think, last week, and it was amazingly done. So
So you're playing one of the characters in that?
yeah, I play a real life CNN reporter, based on the true guy. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's my first time ever playing a reporter in anything, and it had its own challenges for sure. But I think it came off pretty well.
Was that kind of like a different, unique spin to some of the roles that you're used to either voicing or acting, or was it kind of something that you were able to fit right in?
No, it was challenging for sure because a lot of the time I had no one to work off of, another actor to work off of. I had to look directly into the lens and report in a very sort of animated way, slightly. I mean, it was really a challenge in finding a way to obviously make him sound like a human and have realistic qualities, grounded qualities, but also having a sort of heightened delivery that I'm
Mm.
not used to. So yeah, it was fun. It was just great. The executive producer and director on that, Carlton Hughes, I worked with on The Strain, so it was just a real treat to get to be reunited with him.
Are you traditionally more geared towards maybe characters or roles that are like a little softer spoken or like more mellow with their personalities?
I feel like when I was younger, first starting out in the business, I got sort of painted as like the bad guy a lot of the time. Like I was sort of the sort of edgy teen kid, or like early 20s edgy guy. And just as I keep aging, they realize that I have a little bit of a warmer heart than a cold heart. So that's kind of nice. So I've been getting, a lot of young dads, but there's always like a little bit of an edge to them. Like they're, twice divorced, or they're, have an alcohol problem or something like that. Right. So there's always like a dimension to these characters that is fun to play, and it's cool that they see that I can find those different nuances.
Why do you think that is that you get into those roles? Like, do they ask like any questions like throughout the process that would maybe lean towards like, oh, he might be good for this role, or do you think that's just how the thing?
Well, a lot of the time, like I was always told I have very sinister eyebrows, so a lot of the time that did it on its own. You just put my face on camera and you see an evil guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so far from the truth. But yeah, I don't know. I think look, I mean, I think any actor can get pigeonholed, and I'm very lucky that I really haven't been. I've managed to bounce around all different genres, all different types of characters, and I'm grateful for that, because a lot of actors I know are just the handsome CW guy, or do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, or the ingenue or whatever for a lot of females. So it's cool.
I don't know. I feel like the edgy role could be kind of fun though.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. I mean, it's so much. I mean, that's where the imagination, the pretend comes into play, right? It's. I don't know. I mean, it's allowing yourself to get out any sort of angst or frustration that you might have. You can't get out on a daily basis, but you can channel it through this character and find it. Everyone's got a little bit of a dark side in them, right?
So when you get done with the finished product, because this is a popular question I ask a lot of people that are either actors or maybe just any forms of television, when they get done with the finished product, some of them love watching themselves back and others can't do it. Like they'll just get done with the finished product and then they'll just be done with it. Where do you fall on the line? Do you like watching your finished product, or are you kind of like an artist? Like you'll put your work out there for others to see and then you kind of just fade once it's done?
I think it depends on the project that I'm on. If it's something that was, more or less to serve a means at the time in terms of like paying rent and that kind of thing, it was more of a sort of a paycheck, then I might not watch it. You gotta understand, a lot of the time when this stuff comes out, we have no idea what the release date is, or what the network's plans is of when this content's coming out. So it's a bit of a crapshoot. You'll get like a random call from one of your, mom's, like an aunt or something, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just saw so and so on TV." It's like, I didn't even know I was going to be on TV, But yeah. What was your question?
Oh, if you enjoy like watching the finished
Oh,
product
right.
once it's fade away.
For me personally, as long as I'm watching the stuff back and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I buy that," or "This is believable," or "I believe that this, that I disappeared a little bit in this part," like I'm happy with that, right? I've gotten to a place now where I can watch my work and not like look at things in a vanity way, if what I'm watching back is believable and I disappear a bit, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I know that's like a popular thing, like when people just get done with the product, because typically when you're shooting these things, you don't know how long it could be. Like you could be going through like hours, months, years of footage to where the point you're just like, okay, I did this, I shot the thing. Now the audience can watch it and formulate their opinions. I'm just gonna go back to my life. Like
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's the lifestyle, right? You go in, you go and you do the work, you do your best, given the time that you have to prepare. A lot of the time, you don't really have much time to prepare stuff, but, and then you just go on and you just have hopes that there's going to be something else that comes around, that's kind of, the way you gotta sort of look at the job at hand. You focus on the job at hand, and then you do it to the best of your ability, and then you move on to the next one.
Mhm. So what's like a day-to-day life for you when you're not acting? Like, are there any niches of yours or like hobbies that you pick up? I could have sworn I saw you golfing at one point on
Oh
your
man, I
Instagram.
love golf. If I could golf every day of the week, I would golf every day of the week. I grew up playing golf. Yeah, and just the passion for the sport just keeps growing as I get older. Because there's so much to golf that's not just about the game itself. It's like the game within the game,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of really great metaphors in life and within golf. Are you a golfer too?
Here and there. Yeah.
You got the polo on, man. You know it's no fool of me. Um, but what else? What else? I love music. I love going to like outdoor music festivals. I got a lot of really great friends in my life, and just hang with them, especially in the summer in Toronto. It's like special time, so it's like great to just to be out as much as possible. I love art, graffiti, street art. Big, big.
You're a Raptors fan or not really
I'm a
into
Raptors fan,
right?
yeah. When the Raptors are doing well, yeah, I'm definitely in the stadium cheering them on, and baseball too. It's just fun to go to a stadium. You know,
Mm,
are you Yankees fan or Mets fan or
Mets. Yeah.
Mets?
But
Nice,
American football is like my main sport of choice, I would say. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, the Mets they're still doing really well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not too bad right now for a
it's,
change.
you know, run with it.
What is like the main food, I guess you would say, in Canada? Because over in New York, I would say like
Pizza.
pizza. Some occasionally hot dogs, rear their head there.
Yeah.
But when you're so say if like you were instructing an outsider who was coming into your part of Canada and they were like, oh, what's like the food of choice? Like you can't leave Canada without eating because you go to Philadelphia, it's a cheesesteak, obviously.
For
Crab
sure.
cakes are like Maryland. What is like the food thing that you would instruct an outsider to eat in Canada without leaving?
I mean, it would depend on the person that's asking me, but I feel like across the board the answer would be a poutine, which is like French fries
Oh, okay.
mixed with cheese curds, and then but we have this place here that does like custom poutines, so it's like you can put pulled pork on there, you can put anything under the sun really on French fries. So I'd say that's sort of that would be the unhealthy choice. The healthy choice. In Toronto especially, we're so lucky with our culinary scene. There's such a crazy swath of diversity of like any given night you can go to, Thai restaurants, sushi, pizza, um, Puerto Rican, Mexican, like there's every single type of cuisine in the city, and there's variety of it too. So with me personally, I love tacos, man. There's a spot that I
Oh,
go
yeah.
to. If anyone that's listening, if you ever visit Toronto and you want the best huevos rancheros, go to this place called Easy Diner, which is on Queen Street at Ronsonsville. This is very like Toronto centric. Not many people will understand this, but I'm telling you, it is legendary. I get it every single time I go.
Are you a soft or hard shell guy?
Soft.
One, yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah. Hard shell just gets too messy after a
The,
while.
the only times I ever find myself having hard shells is if I'm just doing it for like old time's sake, like it's just kind of I'd say hard shells are more like the traditional taco, right?
Yeah, if you want
But
some sort of nostalgia back
yeah,
when you were a kid eating tacos for the first time, yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that.
but in terms of taste, I don't even think it's a question which is better.
No, I agree.
Soft. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your upbringing maybe like? Like what was like your coming to be? How were you introduced to acting? What was growing up like? You grew up in Ontario, right?
Grew up in Ontario. Grew up in a suburb just outside of Toronto called Etobicoke, which is like 10 or 15-minute drive from the city. What was my upbringing like? I mean, it was a typical suburban upbringing. Mostly had a lot of like neighborhood kids around my age that all lived within the sort of 3 block, 4 block radius. So we all, we play like full court basketball. Sometimes, just get up to kid stuff. Build forts and bike rides and all that kind of thing. And I went to a public high school, and the way that I got into acting was a little bit kind of by accident. When I was in high school, I think it was grade 11. I had a drama teacher that left, that went on maternity leave. And so she was replaced by this woman who was brought in from New York City, funny enough. And she'd been training as, I believe, an actor, like or a teacher at Circle in the Square. And so she was bringing her knowledge of learning all that stuff in New York and bringing it into like an elementary or a high school setting. And she was teaching us about like breaking down scenes and, you know, really digging into craft stuff. And I just really took a liking to it immediately. And, you know, subsequently, you know, the following year, she basically tapped me to play the lead in the high school production that she was putting on. And that was kind of it. I had a real tough time in like math and sciences. And, you know, once those teachers started coming up to me after seeing the show and patting me on the back and being like, you know, the fact that you're like, you know, failing my class right now, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. I think this acting thing might work for you, you know? So, so that was encouraging for sure. And then I studied a couple years at this great college here in Toronto, and soon after got an agent and started working.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fast tracked, right? You'd say?
I would say so. I mean, yeah, it was, it happened pretty quick, you know, and I got my foot in the door and my bearings, pretty quick, I'd say. Started building my resume, got my union card, you know, within, I think, a year, and, haven't looked back, man. Just, yeah, just keep moving.
Did you stay in you know, Canada for most of your work, or did you do the thing where you had to make the pivot to LA at any point?
I've spent quite a bit of time in LA over the past, I guess, yeah, 10 or 12 years. You know, little stints here and there. But it's funny, you know, as a Canadian actor, as soon as you do make the jump over to the States, all of a sudden your stock rises in Canada. And so you're getting the call to come back to Toronto to work on something that's shooting there, you know? So it's interesting how that works. You got to fly the nest in order to sort of come back to it, you know? But yeah, man, I have, you know, I've had some good success in LA for sure. And I plan to spend some more time there.
What was your first gig that you got as far as like acting roles go?
So my first on-camera gig ever was this show called In a Heartbeat, which was on Disney.
Oh yeah.
And it was about these young paramedics, and I was playing like a BMX motocross guy, who was like, I had long shaggy hair back when like it was huge, and so it just fit the bill really well. And you know, it's funny because a really close friend of mine, Sean Ashmore, was the lead of that show, and so it was cool to be like on set with him in that capacity. And he's basically like looking over this like motorcycle, this BMX dude, you know, and so that was really fun.
How hands-on was it? Did they get like stunt doubles for you as far as like any like motorcycle scene?
Luckily, my scene picked up after he fell off his bike and
Okay.
broke his leg or whatever it was. And so, yeah, no, I didn't have to have stunt double. Yeah.
Just making sure. That's usually
Yeah. But that was the first one, man. That was the first gig ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies then, huh?
That was 2000, 2001. Yeah.
Does it feel that long ago that you got your door in, or foot in the door rather?
The door?
Or does it feel like yesterday in some
It's been like, yeah, 22 years. Does 22 years feel long? You know, honestly, I feel like I still got a long way to go. I kind of still have that. I've never really lost the fire, and I've never gotten to a point where I've been jaded, where I feel like I'm entitled really to being hired. I always feel like I kind of have always had this underdog mentality to me, and I feel like that's what really pushes me.
Why do you feel like that is? Was there any particular event in your life, or is that just your source of motivation?
That's a really good question. I think it's growing up. You know, I always wanted to make the basketball team, and I worked my butt off to get there, and I never made the team, you know, and that made me want to work harder the next year to try to make the team. And yeah, I think anything that I'm really passionate about, I just want to be the best at. And so I try my hardest to get there, you know.
Well, that's a really good source of motivation to have. I think and I think this is mostly a thing. I mean, I don't know. I can't really speak for everybody, but I'm kind of the same way to where I'll like tell myself in my head that, somebody doesn't think that I'm like good enough to do something like that, just so like even if that's not the case, like it'll
Yeah,
fuel me, you know what I mean? Like I
sure.
think that's like a guy thing though. I feel like just in sports too, they kind of say like, "Oh, like you see pro athletes, they'll be like they don't think I'm good at like even if that's not the case, just so they have like, they call it bulletin board material actually is what sports teams call it. Because if
Oh
you
yeah, I've heard
you
of that.
put you
Oh,
put something on a bulletin board, it's like you look at like your source of motivation. It's kind of like when sports teams like walk out of the tunnel, like there's usually like some slogan or something like they'll like,
uh,
yeah.
here's a personal question to you. What drove you to want to do this podcast? Because as I get older in this business and just in life, I feel like the element of executing on something is a rarity. You know, a lot of people talk about stuff that they want to do, but actually following through and executing it and putting yourself out there, like that's commendable. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, I would say exactly what you said. I also grew up in the suburbs myself, and I would say like YouTube was a big thing that everybody wanted to do. Everybody was like, when I get older, I want to be a YouTuber," and it was all just like murmurs. But I actually always wanted to do it, and so it actually started when COVID started. I took the initiative to do it and try it, and I just said like if I'm gonna be good enough, I'm gonna be good enough. Like I'm just gonna be like noticed or like pick up steam through me. So that's why like the podcast is like my name. Like I didn't want to, put like a gimmick or like a name over. Like I just wanted to get over as like myself. You know what I mean? But I think like the main source of motivation came was because in high school I found myself always trying to like adapt and fit in with like what the perception of a scene was, not rather what I felt the necessity to do or like what I felt comfortable doing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you went with your gut, with your intuition of the type of podcast you wanted to run. You wanted to be able to ask the questions that you've been probably burning to ask people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to add my own unique kind of spin to
Yeah,
it. Hmm.
it's good. Good for you.
Yeah. So listen, we're not too different after all.
No, no, man. We're all artists, trying
Yeah.
to chase something, chase a dream or whatever it is, and yeah, you just got to keep going,
Hmm.
never stop, right?
So what would you say your casting process was like for Total Drama Island? Did you go and seek it out? Were you noticed? And maybe how did that process itself go?
Right. Okay. So I fell into voice work. I was with an agent at the time doing mostly on camera stuff, and one day he put me out for animation. And for whatever reason, someone picked up on the tone of a lot of people sort of they like the variation in my voice that I can do in the bottom. They always talk about the bottom in voice work. I think that's the proper term anyway. Whatever.
Sure.
And so for Total Drama, they called me in originally for Chris McLean, and I read for him, and I really enjoyed that one. And who else did I read for? I also read for Jeff, I think it was,
Mm.
and then Duncan, obviously. And how did it work? I think I read it once. I read all three once, and then I got called back in for Duncan. And I think it was simple as that. I think it was a couple auditions, and that was pretty much it.
Was it explained to you what the show was when you were initially trying out?
It was pretty top secret at the time, from what I remember. They always provide you with a character breakdown, and then the characters' lines within the script that they want you to read, and yeah, it was pretty straightforward. It's pretty similar to other auditions. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if I signed an NDA or not, because I don't know if we were quite at that place where people were watermarking scripts and signing NDAs and stuff, because that's out of control these days. Almost every project you got to sign an well, not every project, but most projects you got to sign NDAs for now. It's just wild. But from what I recall, that was the process.
Yeah, because when I'm thinking about the voices of those characters you listed, like the Chris McLean voice is so distinct. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just don't hear or see rather the person behind the voice. You'll just automatically just assume the cartoon characters in the other room. You know what I mean? Like you have like such a voice that's like just like chill. You know what I mean? Like a chill voice, like a relaxed voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess that fits the Duncan role very well. Jeff,
I
you
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, yeah. Like he was a really fun guy to play. I mean, I'm playing this sort of the juvenile delinquent guy, the guy that everybody sort of loves to hate. And but I thought the writers did such a great job of just imbuing him with this beautiful sarcasm. And I just keyed into anytime Duncan speaks, most likely he's going to be ripping on someone. And it was just really fun to play.
Are you sarcastic yourself? Was it easy to fit into the role?
Oh, oh, for sure. I get cast a lot for like sarcastic jerks, for sure. And they're fun to play. Like, am I like that in life? Yeah, I'd say there's elements of that to me in life for sure. Not the jerky aspect, but
That
yeah.
that makes it easy to play the role, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, a lot of the time, I'm sure you know this. You're cast for your innate qualities a lot of the time, especially for lead characters, and so I've got this sort of thing that in my voice, I can crack it like this, and that kind of gives that laid back sarcasm vibe. And so I think they really dug that.
It's so uncanny, like how the like it's so weird. Like your voice sounds the same as like it did then.
It's pretty close. I mean, they when we were doing the original total drama, from what I understand, they had to pitch it up a little bit because I do have a little bit more of a deeper, relaxed.
Yeah.
Like I speak slower, I think. Actually, what am I saying? I speak faster in life, and he speaks slower. So, but I know they pitched it up a little bit. But when we did Total Drama Rama, where I'm playing Duncan in daycare, I had to talk. Like it was hard finding that sarcastic, laid back vibe to a kid who's in daycare. I guess he'd be like 8 years. I don't know how old are you in daycare? Like
Younger,
5, 6 years
probably
old?
even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but so that was a challenge for sure. Is finding like the proper pitch because I knew they were going to pitch him higher. So that was a bit of a challenge to find that balance.
Yeah, Duncan went on to be, and there was obviously other iconic characters as well in the series, but Duncan, I would say, honestly, depending on who you ask, might have went on to be like the token face of like the total drama franchise. I think if you ask most fans, they would probably say that.
Well, thanks to the fans. I mean, again, there's so many characters on that show, right? So many great characters. Like Owen, he's my personal favorite. Scott McCord's an absolute genius, with what he brings to Owen. So yeah, look, again, it's like incredibly flattering that one person watched the show, let alone thousands, or I
Did
wouldn't say millions, but the audience that it's built is just incredible.
did you expect that kind of reception, or did you kind of brush it off your shoulder once the first season got aired?
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? We were just hoping that it got picked up for a second season so we could eat, like that's the life, right? You just hope that what you do resonates. And I mean, there's certainly a lot of things that I've done that hasn't resonated, right? That you sort of had high hopes for, and for whatever reason, you just never know what is gonna stick in people's minds, or who's gonna latch on to what. So yeah, no, the Total Drama fan base is rabid and very loyal, and I try my best to reply to everyone that hits me up. So feel free to DM me whenever, and I'll do my best to say what's up.
I just remember when it first came out because it came out on Cartoon Network in the US, so it was a much different show than like the other Cartoon Network shows. So when it first came out, I just remember being like, "What is this?" Like, because it was so captivating. You hadn't seen like a show like it. As a reality spoof, essentially, put onto
Yeah.
a Cartoon Network, and
Yeah.
like at first, I would say nobody knew like what to make of it, but it just stuck and like worked so
Yeah.
well. And it felt like so authentic too. That's the thing. It felt like as kids, like you were able to like put yourself in that situation and kind of relate to it.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Again, that's Tom and Jen that put, and the writers, the brilliant writers room that put all those characters on, on screen. I mean, it's testament to them. It's all from their imaginations, right? So it's all them.
Did you get recognized by your voice at all in public, like in a setting?
I have. I have. The funniest story was when we were in Jamaica. I once reiterated that story at one of the Comic Cons, and to great embarrassing degree. But it was incredible. There was I was there with Scott McCord actually, and there was this lovely woman who was one of the cooks at this I guess home that we were staying at, and we got to know her really well, and at one point she just sort of clued in. Like, it took her a while to kind of clue in, but then she mentioned how it was her daughter's favorite show, and one day her daughter came by, and we took pictures and signed little picture autographs or whatever, and so that was really cool. But other than that, there was something recently that happened, but it's escaping me the details of it. But yeah, it's cool when it happens for sure.
What about any interesting or weird? Could be interesting or weird, like maybe online interactions with fans. Like, do you get any like out there messages from time to time?
There was one time on Instagram where there was this particular fan who was very attracted to Duncan, I guess. I don't know. And was leaving like pretty inappropriate messages on the comment stream. So I had to kind of curate that a little bit. Yeah. So that was a little strange.
That's like the worst. It's like
Yeah.
I have
Yeah. It's like, come on, dude, come on. I mean, there's young kids that are, that comment and try to communicate and stuff. It's like, let's keep this PG,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like similar stuff happen where like if I have a podcast with like a guest that like a fan maybe is like a post to, like they'll leave a comment like underneath like my video, like acting as if they're talking directly to that person, but it's really my video that they're commenting under. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Strange
It's like a weird time machine element with like the fans of shows, but
Yeah. What about with your podcast? Because do you open it up to comments and that kind of thing?
oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
That's actually why I wanted YouTube as like my main source of the podcast, is to have like an interactive kind of environment. I know like Apple and Spotify is a big thing for podcasts these days, but I wanted specifically like a video virtual element to it and both a comments section directly under the podcast.
Got it.
Yeah. But I want to thank you for joining me today. I had a fun time chat with you.
My pleasure.
Getting to kind of pick your brain a little bit on some total drama topics and hearing about your great acting career. And good luck in the future. Hope good things keep continuing to come your way. And I'll let you know when this is out.
That sounds great, man. Thanks for hitting me up, Mike. Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you as well. Bye, guys.